What's up, everybody?
Hello, everybody.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Listen, if you're watching
Welcome.
right now, hit the share button. Hit the share button so that we can get some folks in here.
That's what I'm
Um,
doing.
that's what you're doing. Thank you for doing that. So here's the thing. The reason why, well, there's several reasons why we want you to hit the share button. One, we want to get in front of folks. I mean, who doesn't? But this topic tonight, we really want to hear from you. Um, if you saw the graphic, you know that we're talking about submission. And the question is, why is it such a big deal? Um, the follow up question to that is, have you, in your marriage, have you had a conversation about submission? Have you ever talked about submission?
Hmm.
Um, have you ever talked about submission? I'm going to put that while we're waiting for folks to join. I'm going to put this up on the screen. Um,
Hmm?
I'm going to put it up on the screen. What's the big deal?
Oh,
All right, submission. That's what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about submission. Listen, if you are here, this is your first time coming across us. This is Have a Conversation After Dark. The whole point of this show is to spark conversation
mhm.
because we believe that conversation is a catalyst for learning. Conversation is a catalyst for
Growth.
bonding
Oh,
and for
bonding and
growth.
for growth. Yeah.
And so there are conversations that we just should be having, right? And we've talked about this on a show a long time ago,
Hmm.
but I thought we'd bring it up again because this is my question to everybody. What's on the screen right now? What's the big deal?
I think
What's the
the
big deal?
I think the big deal is um that it's taken out of context often.
Hmm.
I think often husbands, not often, but you hear that husbands say, well, the Bible says you got to submit to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that that comes across, yes, I do have to submit to you. You have to submit to me as well. But the way that it comes across is sometimes husbands take it the wrong way
Mm-hmm.
and wives take it the wrong way.
Yeah.
They take it in a I'm the boss of you type of way. And
Okay.
that's not really
That's not what it is.
that's not the context of it. And so because of that, wives push back on that. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Because it's like you're not my boss. You know, you can't tell me what to do in that way
Mm-hmm. Okay.
because it's almost abusive if you're going to go about
If you're
it
gonna do
that
it that way,
way.
right?
Right. And so I think that that's why it's such a big deal to a lot of people because it's taken out of context.
Okay. Okay. Shout out to James in the comments. What's up, James? Thank you for being here. Appreciate that. Listen, we're talking about submission. If you're jumping in and out, before you jump out, hit the share button because we want to hear what people have to say. The question on the table is, well, there's two questions really, but the first question is, what's the big deal?
That's the big deal.
Like, why is this? Why, when this word is brought up, why is it triggering for some? Why is it automatically controversial? What's the big deal?
And like I said before, it's the wrong context of it is I get to tell you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, it's it's taken out of context and it just has a negative connotation and it makes wives when it's taken out of context feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why it's the big deal that it is.
Can I just jump all the way into the conversation with this next question, which is this, and I'm gonna give my own answer to it. The follow-up question to this is: have you and your spouse ever had a conversation about submission?
Mm.
I can tell you right now, we've never had a conversation about submission and what that looks like in our marriage.
We've had conversations about submission, but not submission in our
Right, what it
relationship.
looks like in our like because of what we do
Yeah.
for a living, we always have conversations about submission. But in
Mhm.
terms of she and I having a conversation about what submission looks like in our marriage, we have never had that conversation. And I dare say that the reason why it is such a big deal is because many of us have not had conversations. We've just taken what we've heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
We have ingested the negative connotation behind it, and we just now feel some kind of way.
I think, well, yes, I agree with that. I think the reason why we never really talked about it is because we had the understanding of what it is, what it truly is.
Okay.
And so,
Okay.
We just fell under that because we knew what it truly, and I think that could be why, on one hand, why couples have not had the conversation
Mhm.
because they do understand what it truly means. And then on the other hand, people have not had that conversation because they never thought that they would need to.
Yeah.
So
I think some people don't have the conversation too because it has a negative connotation. I think sometimes we go into a marriage just with the automatic assumption that concept ain't gonna be welcome here. So we ain't no need
we're
to
not
talk.
going to talk
Ain't no need
about
to
it.
talk about it
Mhm.
because that ain't gonna go down here, right?
Mhm.
Let me tell you.
But
Mhm. Mhm.
with it not being talked about,
Mhm.
on the one hand, wives may be thinking that concept is not welcome here, so we're not going to talk about it. On the other hand, the husband could be thinking, ain't no need to talk about it because they going to submit. That's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah,
Ain't nothing to talk about.
that's the other side of the coin.
Right.
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
James said it's a balance to it. It takes the Holy Spirit to help speak on both parts.
Mm-hmm.
So listen, I'm gonna tell you what I think. And those of you who are jumping in and out, we would love to hear what you think. But I'm gonna tell you what I think. It ain't that big of a deal. It really ain't.
It's not that big of a deal once you understand the context of
Right.
it.
It ain't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And this is not an advice show. If you want an advice show, then you need to join us on Thursdays for you know, I was gonna say shameless plug. Well, it is shameless plug. Shameless plug, that means there's no shame. You join us on Thursdays for Inside the Relationship, and you can, we'll talk about things from an advice perspective. Tonight's not really an advice show, but I'm gonna say this. Um, One, submission was taught wrong, which is why it has a
Do
negative
you think it
connotation.
was taught wrong
Absolutely, absolutely.
by the church?
Absolutely, absolutely. We if you go further back in time,
Mm-hmm.
that whole and we talk about this sometimes in our seminars.
Mm-hmm.
Submission, James and I agreed. Submission, we beat people over the head with that whole Ephesians 5:21. I think it's verse 21, right? We take that and we weaponize that verse.
Yeah.
We don't talk about anything that goes after it. We don't talk about anything that comes before it.
Yeah.
And if we would talk about what comes after it, and if we would talk about what comes before it, you would have a holistic picture based on the context. But we've been taught wrong. We were taught wrong.
Yeah.
Christian, thank you for being here. Shout out to Christian in the comments.
Chrissy. Although I'm unwed, I have participated in many chats pertaining to submission. I love how y'all have said it is understood. Those who chat about it in the heaviest way possible these days seem very off because they think it has to be forced instead of happening naturally.
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that. And it is still to this day a hot button topic.
Yeah.
Even in getting ready for the show tonight, I was just kind of Googling through some things and just looking at how many very recent arguments, discussions, podcasts have happened just in the last 6 months, just on this topic.
Yeah, that I think I'd like to listen in on some of those podcasts just to see what their thinking is about it.
Yeah,
if it's truly understood.
And I think it's a big deal because it's understood. So the reason why I say what's the big deal, and I'm implying that there ain't no big deal, is because what submission is not is the green light to lord over a person.
Correct. 100% correct.
Now,
it is not that.
Here's what I don't understand, which is why I asked this question: what's the big deal? How many times do we have to say that before people are like, it ain't a big deal?
Yeah, because we've been saying that for the longest time.
And that goes back to the second question, which is, have you ever had a conversation with your spouse about what submission looks like in your marriage? Because I guarantee you, this show is called Have a Conversation After Dark. And the whole point of this is that we throw out topics that you should talk about. There should be a conversation about, first of all, can we get on the same page? Can we have some spiritual intimacy, if you will, around what submission actually means? First of all. Then, how does that look in our marriage? How does that play out in our marriage? I guarantee you, I'm willing to make a bet that the majority of couples on this earth have not had that conversation.
Right.
And that's why it's a big deal for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, want to hear from you guys, those of you who are jumping in and out. What's the big deal? Why is submission a big deal? Or is it a big deal to you? Is there something that you have learned about submission that allows you to adopt that concept and that ideology? Is there something that causes you not to adopt that ideology?
It says in the word, it says submit one to another. But I think that husbands who always say, you my wife, you supposed to submit to me, either don't know that it says submit one to another, or they ignore that part.
Right. Because that comes before that verse.
Yeah.
Yeah. James said, I
I
always
always say
say
I'm the head.
I'm the head.
However, she's the backbone of the
She's the
family.
backbone. Yeah. Now, let me say this, James. I agree with you. So just let me get that out the way first. Here's where another reason why I think it is a big deal,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm gonna use the words that James used, right?
I'm the
So
head.
James said, "I always say I'm the head."
Mm.
I feel like women automatically buck against that statement
Why? Why do you? Yeah.
because
It's the same thing
it,
as what I was saying in the
right,
beginning, because a lot of wives feel like that means you got to do what I say and you don't have a say.
right, right. James said, "Yep." Now here's the thing. We're gonna give our opinion tonight. I said
Mhm.
this is typically not an advice show, but we're gonna give our opinions tonight. So here's what's interesting to me, right? With the statement, "I'm the head," right? There's absolutely no reason for you to buck against that statement, "I'm the head." Let me
Be-
tell you why. Every day, if we're in the corporate space, we go to work and we have a we either have direct reports that report to us, or we are a direct report to somebody else, which means there is some level of hierarchy
mm,
in the establishment where you work,
mm-hmm.
right? It is 100% understood and accepted that you have a manager. That manager has a director. That director has maybe a CIO. That
Mm-hmm.
CIO has a president, right?
And so on. Yeah.
Don't nobody buck against that.
Yeah.
And
It is not.
it is the
It is not.
same
It's not.
thing.
It's not.
Why is it not the same thing, Elizabeth?
It's not the same thing, because in that type of environment, you have to do what your direct report says. Hear me out. If you I get what you're saying, but if you come to me and say, "Hey, do this, and this,"
Hmm.
like, it's not it's just not the same, because then it sounds again like you're lording over me, like you said in the beginning,
Okay.
instead of, you know, this is what I feel like God is saying that we should do, or this is what I feel the direction God is telling us to go. It's just different.
So let me ask you this. Is it the terminology that makes it different, or is it the concept? The concept is not different. The terminology may make it different.
Mm.
The concept, however, is not different. There is a hierarchy. And it ain't a bad thing.
Yeah, maybe it's just the terminology.
I,
Maybe.
I think it's the terminology. And I
Maybe.
think we choose to make it a big deal. We choose to make it different.
Mhm.
Now, it's different in the sense that in the corporate situation, there is definitely the danger of, if you choose not to do, then you pay some level of consequences.
Yeah, and
So it's different in that way.
I think that's what I think of
Okay.
when you say it's the same,
Okay.
because I
I
feel
understand that.
like if if you choose, like you said, not to do what your direct report says
Hmm.
in the corporate space,
Hmm.
you're going to get fired.
Hmm. Now, can I get controversial for a second, since it's just me and you talking? It's only been two people in the comments, so we
Doesn't
can do
matter.
this, right? So let me get controversial for a second. The same thing is true in marriage.
So if I do not submit to what you're
No, 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 no.
saying,
See, and that's why it gets so difficult, because you're already going where people go.
no, I'm asking you, if I don't submit to what you're saying, are you saying that what? We can get divorced?
Nope, nope. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that let me give an example. So let's say, for example, and I'm gonna bring this full circle in a second. Let's say, for example, I come to you and I say, babe, this is the way we're gonna approach XYZ.
Mhm.
And you choose to, no, I ain't doing that.
Mhm.
There will be some consequences.
There will be.
Now, the consequences may not be, oh, I'm gonna divorce you, and oh, I'm gonna be angry, and oh, you're gonna get put out the house. But the consequences may be the scenario may crumble,
Mm-hmm.
and there may be some financial implications,
I
and there may,
understand that.
so there are things that
Yeah.
happen. Now, here's the problem why
Mhm.
this is a big deal. We only we only we only use that scenario one way.
What scenario?
The scenario that I just said, if I say this is how we're going to do something, the problem is we only do that one way. It's always if I ask you or
Yeah.
tell you something,
Yeah.
but it goes both ways.
It
If
does.
you come to me and be like, hey, you know what? I think this is the way we should move on this. And I'm like, nah, we ain't doing that.
It's the same thing.
There can be implications.
Yeah. Yeah. My whole thing with submission is you say to me, this is the direction I think we should go in.
Hmm.
This is the um choice that I believe we should make for our relationship. This is what God is saying that we should do.
Hmm.
I then say, okay,
Hmm.
if you feel like that's what God is saying we should do, we're going to go with that.
Hmm.
If I don't agree with it,
Hmm.
I'm still going to submit to you, but then I'm going to go back to God and say, God, I do not think that this is the right thing to do. So work
Hmm.
with me and show me that, yeah, he's on the right track,
Hmm.
or let him know or let me know, or whatever happens, the consequences, that's
Hmm.
between him
Hmm.
and you,
Okay.
because I am submitting to him
Hmm.
because I believe that he's submitting to you.
Okay.
And so as long as I am still submitting, even if I think that the direction is not the right direction,
Hmm.
that's between you and God at that point.
Okay. I'm with that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, if there are some women watching, I would love to hear from you all. Thank you, Chrissy, for your comment. I would love to hear from some ladies. So let me get even more controversial using the same corporate analogy, right? When you accept an offer from an employer
Mhm.
to go work for them, you are in essence saying that I choose willingly to come under the mission of this company.
Mhm.
Whatever this company stands for, whatever direction this company is going in, I choose to come in alignment with that. Right? When we get married, we do the same thing. Now, here's where we mess up. Many of us, and I think we talked about this in an earlier show, many of us do not go into marriage with a defined mission.
Yeah.
So we don't know what we signing up for.
Mm.
And then when the mission is outlined and you feel some kind of way or I feel some kind of way, now we got a problem.
Well, I guess I can kind of see your point, but then after marriage, sometimes things are not revealed, directions are not revealed until after we're married.
That's true. Obviously there's room for change, just
Yeah.
like there's room for change in a company.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I think about the company that I worked for 12 years before I went out on my own, the direction has changed many times,
Mm-hmm.
right? But there was a starting point.
Mm.
Many of us in marriage do not get into marriage with even a starting point.
Yeah, most people don't.
So there's no mission to come under.
Mm.
So all of a sudden, when somebody has the idea, the premonition, the notion, the growth, if you will, to create a mission, now we got a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's another reason why it's a big deal. Because one, we don't understand it. Two, we haven't prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
And three, we don't talk about it.
We definitely don't talk about it as much as
Yeah, we don't talk about it.
we should.
So again, I'll say this. If you have not had a conversation about what submission looks like in your own marriage, you should probably have that conversation.
Mm.
If you caught what we said earlier in the beginning, to be in full transparency, we have we haven't had that conversation either. I don't know what I was about to say. We haven't had that conversation either. Although as coaches and speakers, we've talked about this all the time.
Yeah.
So I think because we've talked about it all the time, there's an understanding.
Yeah.
But actually sitting down and be like, okay, how does this ideology play out in our marriage?
I just think we got to know what it
We
means
gotta know what it means.
before we can say, how does it play out in our marriage?
We gotta know
We
what it
have to
means.
know what it means. And we have to open up the word in order to do that. And, pray the Holy Spirit give us understanding of what it truly means.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're not going to be able to work anything out, effectively if we don't have the proper understanding of it.
Can I also say this too? There is a really, and this is my opinion. You can, tell me if you agree or disagree. There is a very big difference. It's not a thin line. There is a big difference between the ideology around submission and being submissive. Huge difference. The reason why it's a big deal is because when we hear submission, we don't want to be submissive. That's another reason why it's a big deal. There is a big difference between the ideology that surrounds the word submission and being submissive.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we use a dictionary definition, submission, there's two definitions that I have pulled up here. One is the action or fact of accepting or yielding to a superior force or to the will or authority of another person. That's another reason why that's another reason why it's a big deal, because many of us use the dictionary.
That's what I was about to say. This is a dictionary.
We use the dictionary definition to define this concept.
Right.
This biblical concept.
Right. That's exactly what I was thinking when you were reading it.
A man-made dictionary.
I'm like, that's the problem right there.
Right.
People are quick to pull up, Merriam-Webster.
Right.
But not pull up the Holy Bible.
That's another reason why it's a big deal. Right? Because people are like, well, you ain't gonna be superior over me, and what you talking about? What authority? And all of a sudden,
whose voice is that?
I don't know. That's somebody's voice. Somebody did that. I know somebody did that. I can hear it. I know somebody did it. I know somebody did it. So but I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you right now. You putting too much weight on it. You put too much weight on it. It ain't that big of a deal. It ain't.
Just understand it. Get understanding.
Yeah.
With all that get understanding.
It ain't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
It's not. Now, those of you who happen to come across this on the replay would love to know what your opinion is on this. We're not gonna stay on here too long tonight. That's my opinion. It ain't that big of a deal.
Okay.
I believe that if you have a conversation about it, which many don't, you will come to an understanding that says, hey, listen, what's the mission of our marriage? That's number one. What's the mission of our marriage? What's the driving force? What are the goals? What are the visions? What's the direction we're trying to go in with our marriage holistically?
Yeah.
Right? Now, once we understand what that direction is, what role do I play in that? What role do you play in that? And then you move forward.
Yeah.
That's really what submission is.
Yeah.
There can be no submission if there is no mission. Period. Because what happens now is we just arbitrarily just trying to get the other person to do what we feel like is the right thing to do.
I was just about to say, it's not even really about us. It's what is God telling us to do? That's what we should be bringing to the table to be submitted to. It's not about us.
Yeah. It's not.
Right.
It's not. And once you realize that, you'll be able to, this ain't gonna be no big deal for you. Once you realize that, it ain't gonna be no big deal. It's gonna be It's going to be, look, hey, this is the direction that, God is moving us in.
Mhm.
Here's the mission that has been established based on that. Here is how we both will contribute to that. Here are the decisions that will fall in, that will fall into your sphere of
Mhm.
expertise. Here are the decisions that will fall into your sphere of expertise. Here are the conversations that we'll have if necessary. That's it.
Yeah.
It ain't no big deal.
Yeah.
We've made it a big deal. The church has miscommunicated what it is. We've used the dictionary definition to define what it is. We think that submission is synonymous with being submissive, and we don't like that, and it ain't. That's why it's a big deal.
Do you think that the church is still um not saying what it is correctly?
I think depending on where you are, I
Mhm.
think there's
Agree.
some segments of the body of Christ that are still very, and I don't want to throw nobody under the bus, so I won't say any segments in particular, but there are some segments that think still have this very heavy male dominated
Mhm. Yeah, I
philosophy
agree. I
around
agree.
how marriages should be run.
Yeah.
And that's what makes James' statement, although 1000% true, that's what makes his statement get so much flack.
Mhm.
So because this connotation of this male dominated scenario has been played out,
Mhm.
now when you say I'm the head, you people ready to stone you.
Mhm.
When the truth is you are the head.
Mm.
Like, let's be clear about that. Now, that what that means is very different than what has been articulated at
And
times.
that, I think, is the issue.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yeah. What that means is
Yeah.
very different than what has been articulated.
Mhm.
But that is true. So I think at the end of the day, folks, here's how we're gonna wrap this up. At the end of the day, you have to have a conversation. You have to, the Bible says, and all you're getting, get understanding.
Standing. Yeah.
And if you don't understand this, then you can't really speak on it.
Yeah.
This is what it is. And so you should probably have a conversation about how this looks in your marriage before you jump to conclusions, before you beat your spouse over the head based on some preconceived ideas or some
Mm.
foolishness you heard somewhere that ain't true. You should probably talk to the person next to you, figure out a plan, create a mission
Yeah.
that y'all can submit to.
Prayerfully.
There it is.
Prayerfully.
Prayerfully. Prayerfully. All right, listen, we're gonna get out of here. If you are watching the replay, please let us know in the comments how you feel about this. Why is submission a big deal? Is it a big deal? What have you learned about submission? What ideas or ideologies did you have to change? How did that change as you went through your marriage? Did you have a conversation with your spouse about this
Mhm.
and about what it looks like in your marriage? We'd love to hear from you in that way. All right. So listen, we're gonna get out of here. Before we get out of here, let us share a couple quick things before we get out of here. One, on every Thursday, like we said, we have Inside the Relationship. Inside the Relationship is a show about all things relationships. We have had some really great episodes
Mhm.
in this new season that we've had, and we anticipate some really great episodes coming up. Some great guests which we're lining up for this. So make sure that you see us wherever you're watching this right now. You can come right back here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays.
Mhm.
The next thing is we have announced that in October we are going to be doing another cohort of Make Love Better, which is a 6-week group coaching experience. We are about to finish up this week with a cohort right now, and it has been a great experience.
Very good.
And we are looking forward to opening up another cohort. So if you want to be a part of this, you can go to denali.org/make
Make love
love
better.
better.
Yeah.
Denali.org/make love better. Go ahead and get in this cohort. We are only taking 8 couples.
Mhm.
We will close it after that, because we want to keep it intimate.
Yeah.
We want to give everybody a chance to be
We want to make
seen,
sure that every couple gets
Yeah.
the attention that
Yeah.
they need.
to be seen and heard in that experience.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for being the best part of this. This is, what is this? Have a conversation. I have so many words in my head. Have a conversation after dark, a show that is just designed to get you to spark conversation, because we believe that conversation is a catalyst for growth. Conversation is a catalyst for
learning,
and conversation is a catalyst for
bonding.
And with that, we're going to get out of here. Have a great rest of your Saturday evening and phenomenal weekend. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Later.